On your Wednesday episode of Locked On Raptors, this year's Scottie Barnes sure is looking like the two-way force that was promised.
You are Locked On Raptors, your daily Toronto Raptors podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, what's going on? And welcome to another episode of Locked On Raptors, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. It is Wednesday, November the 5th, and I am your host, Sean Woodley. I've been covering the Raptors for 12 seasons on various platforms. You can find all my work over on Blue Sky. You can find the show on Instagram. You can join us in the Locked On Raptors Discord server, link in the description of the podcast. 100% free to join. We'd love to see you become part of our listener community over there. Great place to come hang out, talk ball as the games are going on, and in between the games as well, which we got a couple off days here before the Raptors are back in action in the NBA Cup on Friday against the Atlanta Hawks. And today's show is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Head to FanDuel.com to get started, and we'll get started here on your Wednesday edition of the show, talking about a 128-100 waxing of the Milwaukee Bucks, who came into last night's game at 5-2, looking pretty good. Giannis Antetokounmpo looking like an early season MVP favorite, and the Toronto Raptors did as good a job as any team has done all season long of making life miserable for Giannis Antetokounmpo. And chief among the Toronto Raptors who made Giannis's life miserable was one Scottie Barnes, who will be the prime focus of the top of today's show. He was fantastic, doing it two ways. He's looking really, really good to start the year. We're also going to get into the math game. The Raptors are very much winning right now. And a lot of the stuff we saw in last night's game that kind of plays into what the Raptors are doing kind of under the hood, that makes me think this start specifically on offense maybe isn't all that unsustainable after all. We got the good, the bad, and the to close things out as we usually do after a game two. But let's start with Scottie Barnes, who is looking every bit like a two-way star for the Raptors right now. 23 points, 3 boards, 6 assists, 4 steals, and 2 blocks last night. He's got 14 stocks over his last 3 games as the Raptors defense has kind of made a bit of a turnaround here. And it was nice to see them do it against the Bucks, who are a team that is a lot more serious than the teams they saw on Sunday in Memphis without Ja Morant and Cleveland without all of their guys on Friday. And look, I thought Scottie in this game just did masterful work, making life as difficult as possible for Giannis. And look, Giannis is still going to get his. He still scored 22 points in 23 minutes, but it was as difficult a night as he's faced against any defense in the league so far this season, as he's just been mowing teams down, putting up 30 plus, 15 boards, 8 assists, all that stuff. He just tonight or last night didn't quite have it. And, you know, the Bucks kind of packed this one in late in the third quarter. Giannis played just 24 minutes in this game because there was no point of putting him back out for the fourth because the Raptors were so squarely ahead. And again, Scottie Barnes was the single biggest reason why that was. They were just dominant in this game. And I think the biggest reason why was Scottie just like finding that gear defensively that allows everyone else to kind of chill out a little bit. You know, I think they've made a pretty clear adjustment in terms of how aggressive they're being, and they're emboldening certain guys here and there, and they're getting into, you know, more aggressive style, aggressive sort of schemes and aggressive moments of defense a little more selectively. But they've just given Scottie Barnes carte blanche to go mess stuff up on the back end. And you saw him in this game picking apart passes in rotation or picking off passes in rotation, you know, just being an impossible guy to throw an entry pass near. It just was not easy for Giannis to get those deep seals that he typically gets against basically everyone. And he was having his way. Giannis was with Colin Murray-Boyles, with Mamu, with Jakob Poeltl in this game. You know, it was when Scottie wasn't out there, the Raptors had a hard time. And, you know, when Giannis was sitting, the Raptors completely dominated the Bucks, not surprisingly. But in those minutes where Barnes played against Giannis, he was just everywhere. He was providing that first sign of resistance at the top of the arc when Giannis would come barreling towards the rim. And then underneath, just like really well timed with his hands, he contested some shots extremely well, turned those contests into transition opportunities the other way as an orchestrator, as a finisher in a couple cases. Just like a really, really good game overall from Scottie Barnes, who right now on both ends of the floor is just in a very, very good place. And even if the threes don't keep falling like this, and they kept falling for him last night. He goes 2 of 4 from deep again. 3 of 5 from deep again. He's up to 50% from the season or for the season from deep. He was a plus 24 in this game, by the way, in single game plus minus. I don't really care about all that often, but that very much matches what we saw in this game. When he was on the floor, he was just bringing two-way impact in a way not even Giannis was in this game. He was the best player on the floor in this game, bar none. And yeah, I think just where he's fitting in the offense right now, where he's getting his easy looks in transition, the way that they are using his mid-range game as sort of especially last night when the Bucks decided to throw a zone at the Raptors to get him off rhythm. They didn't quite pick it apart as deftly as you'd hope, but I thought the process was pretty good. Some shots just didn't fall. They were leaning on that Scottie Barnes mid-ranger, that free throw line bucket that has been just like kind of a bankable shot for him now for a couple years. That was their zone buster. He had the one little step back, 18-footer, 14-footer, whatever it is that went down that kind of ended the zone that the Bucks were throwing at them in the first half. Just like a lot of good stuff going on from Scottie. No fat in his game, no bad, lazy pull-ups, no sort of probing just like odious back downs in the post for those turnaround jumpers. Everything is looking towards the rim. Everything is looking towards that short mid-range. He's like facing the basket. He's not doing the turnaround stuff. It's been really great. And like, again, doing it two ways, just kind of igniting things from his defense and turning it into offense. Like in this game, there's a couple of possessions that kind of come to mind. He had one possession where he forces a Giannis miss, collects the rebound, sprints the other way, draws in a couple defenders as he's probing into the paint, just drops it right back to Emmanuel quickly at the wing who kicks it to Grady Dick in the corner, bang, hits a three, love it. And then later on, there was another stop he made at Giannis at the rim, didn't get the ball off this rebound. I think it was Jamal Shed who got the board. Shed pushes the break. Scottie just like races up the floor, beats everyone down, gets to the dunker spot. Shed finds him, easy bucket for Scottie. Like just like a really tidy overall game from Scottie Barnes in this game. And I think, there were a few things the Raptors did super well in this game to shut down Milwaukee. One was, they really, really just completely suppressed transition play for the Bucks in this one. The Bucks scored just 0.73 points per possession on just 15 transition opportunities in this game per synergy. And on most of those misses, I went back and watched them today. There's Scottie Barnes racing back to meet the ball in transition or contest at the rim or be the last line of defense after someone else picks up the ball. Just a really, really excellent game overall. And don't look now, the Raptors have the fourth best transition defense in the NBA. And Scottie Barnes is a big reason for that. He is just like out there sprinting end to end so he can fill in the gaps and do everything that they need from him on both ends of the floor. It's been beautiful to see. He's been really, really good. He's leveled up certainly as like an impact guy. The numbers aren't there yet, like the raw on-off data. The starters are still sort of suffering from the first few games of the season where they got totally hammered. And so it's going to take some time for those numbers to stabilize, but it won't take long if he's going to do what he's done his last few times out, where he's just making impact after impact in every corner of the game, on every corner of the floor. It's been great to see, man. I just can't say enough about Scottie Barnes' work in this game. And looking at home within how they're playing offense too, right? I think that was the big sort of resistance point in the preseason of, all right, where's Scottie going to get his looks off? I think him and Brandon Ingram are working beautifully in sync with one another. I think we saw Emmanuel quickly. We'll talk about this coming up a little bit later. I think have his best at least half of basketball of the season in the first half of this game, sort of fitting into the on-off ball sort of chameleon role they need from him. And just everyone just kind of eating, right? Like the offense is humming along. We'll get into that again as well coming up soon. But Scottie Barnes is the tone setter. Scottie Barnes is the guy who gives them the best chance on defense. And they're up to 17th in defense now after a miserable start. The last few games have certainly helped. And again, really encouraging to see them do it against a real opponent in the Milwaukee Bucks. Yes, they were on a back-to-back, but it's also like the second week of the season. So I'm not really here for but the back-to-back, it was a scheduled loss thing. No, like teams went on back-to-backs all the time. It was like a 2-hour flight from Indiana the night before. I know they played a tough, hard-fought game, but like missed me with it was just like a cream puff win against a team on a back-to-back. Maybe in February, sure, is the second week of the season. I'm not moved by that argument whatsoever. This was a real win. This was, I think, the best win of the Raptors season. Yes, the Hawks game off the top of the season was fun, but I think two-way play-wise, this was easily their best, most complete performance of the year. And Scottie Barnes, again, fingerprints were all over it. And yeah, he was just he's the two-way might of Scottie Barnes has been unlocked by having Brandon Ingram as someone who can be a creation hub, and Emmanuel quickly just being healthy and having the ball in his hands and able to create like I said, last night was a really good night for him creating in the half court. All of that just makes it so Scottie Barnes is emboldened to do the two-way stuff that makes him so good. He doesn't have to pour all of his eggs into the offense basket just to keep things alive. He's able to do it all. And man, like doing it all, he very much is right now. Been an awesome start from Scottie Barnes. We're going to come back on the other side, talk about the math that's working in the Raptors' favor, some of the early season stats that are kind of emerging here. Just 8 games, but hey, that's like 10% of the season. It's worth digging into a little bit what the Raptors are doing, and at least it's stuff to keep an eye on going forward as they head out on this 5-game Eastern Conference road trip that starts on Friday. We'll do that coming up in just 1 second. Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you miss the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team is making that late push. Hey, maybe you want to throw some money down on Scottie Barnes blocks, hitting the over. He's been doing that quite a bit. Steals as well. He's been basically the orchestrator of all the turnovers that the Raptors are creating right now. Maybe you can make some money off of what he's doing on that end of the floor. Of course, you can make futures bets on all kinds of sports as well. Baseball free agency, landing spot bets. It's all there for you to go and peruse. And right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Today's show is also brought to you by Rougiette. Let's be real, making excuses doesn't solve anything. We've all heard them before. It's just stress, I'm tired, or it happens to everyone sometimes. When it comes to performance, sometimes your body just needs a little bit of extra support, and that is where Rougiette comes in. Rougiette.com offers fast-acting doctor-prescribed treatments for ED designed to help you stop making excuses and start making moves. Rougiette makes it easy to get started. You just connect with a board-certified doctor 100% online, no awkward waiting rooms, no in-person appointments. If prescribed, your treatment will be shipped directly and discreetly to your door. The process is fast, simple, and private, and it's all handled by real doctors. It's about confidence, connection, and getting back to the moments that matter. Visit RUGIET.com/LockedOnNBA to get 15% off your first order. That's Rougiette.com/LockedOnNBA. And don't forget to use our code LockedOnNBA so they know that we sent you. Rougiette, stop making excuses and start making moves. Back at it here, talking about the Toronto Raptors just pummeling the Milwaukee Bucks on Tuesday night. A nice win heading off into the 5-game road trip they have coming up against some pretty easy teams. Trae Young, the Trae Youngless Atlanta Hawks, that is, on Friday. The Nets are in there. The Pacers are in there. The Sixers are in there. That'll be a fun one. But for the most part, like, winnable games ahead for the Toronto Raptors as they hit this Eastern Conference road trip. And yeah, it'd be nice to see how they return and what the record's at once they get back. I think November 17th is the next time they're at home. Yeah, I think I'm growing encouraged. Obviously there have been some lopsided losses and some ugly ones. The Spurs game was nasty, and the Rockets game, they got bludgeoned, and they gave away the first Bucks game, and the Mavericks game was no good. The defense really, really coming unspooled in most of those games to be their undoing. But I do think, we've seen, again, some adjustments in how they're playing defense. We saw them on display again last night. And I think that, combined with some of the stuff that's going on under the hood math-wise, it is giving me some real confidence that this team is going to be, at the very least, like a comfortably above 500 team as the season progresses here. They're just doing stuff that, like, it all combines to make the math work. The math is mathing, as they say. Again, on the defensive side of things, they've seemingly dialed back the aggression to match their offensive output. Something we talked about last week, just like, hey, the offense is going well. Trust the offense to be good for you. You don't have to sort of cushion your offense by spamming to try to get steals in the open court and then putting yourself in compromised positions defensively as a result. Like, no, you can just trust your offense to be good and play a little bit more of a laid-back scheme on defense, and it's totally fine. And look, there was still some aggressive stuff last night we saw in selected spots. There was an instance where, Emmanuel Quickly and RJ Barrett, I thought, had a really nicely timed and executed trap of Ryan Rollins on the left side of the floor coming up in the first half. That forced a jump ball. That was just like, okay, that was a surprise look. It was like, there's an element of surprise to that type of thing that, like, it can be effective if it's not something that teams are bracing for, right? If you're more selective about when you're throwing your whole sort of defensive kitchen sink at someone, that's likely going to create more turnovers, likely create more just like janky offense, because teams aren't expecting it. If you're just wired for constant aggression all the time, it's a little easier to game plan for, a little easier to work around if you're an offense. And again, there was some aggression last night in the way they guarded Giannis in sort of a different way, though, right? I think in the first game against the Bucks, they were just so eager to help at the first sign of trouble of Giannis catching the ball and maybe having a mismatch. There were so many instances of Giannis catches it at the elbow, and then like someone comes in to help as soon as he catches it, right off of a nearby shooter. Helping off of AJ Green really stands out to me from that game. They did it a couple times where just like one pass away, help comes in. It's sort of an ineffectual double, and Giannis has still yet to like get committed to his move. And so he's just like, okay, fine, I'll just pass this to the really good 3-point shooter you left wide open. Bang, triple, you go back the other way. Wasn't the case in this game. I thought they were way more patient with how they sent help towards Giannis. They waited until he was committed, until he got deep position on his drives, and then all of a sudden the swarm came. And look, he's Giannis. There were still times in this game. I think John Schumann from NBA.com, the stats whiz over there, posted a clip on Blue Sky earlier today of Giannis scoring through 4 converging Toronto Raptors. He's going to do that sometimes. But again, I thought the Raptors did a good job of just making him uncomfortable. He was pissed off. He got a tech yelling about the officials. Might have been fair, right? Like they were kind of being physical with him and seeing what they could get away with. That's part of being an aggressive defense too, right? Is sort of towing the line. They can't call everything. And against Giannis, I mean, there's just so much contact both ways whenever Giannis has the ball. You can get emboldened to try to be a little bit more aggressive and maybe get away with some stuff that you wouldn't otherwise get away with. Scottie, I think, had a couple times where he certainly fouled, Giannis, but reputationally, he's just a damn good defender, and so he gets away with it sometimes. Just like they were really, again, devoted to collapsing on Giannis at the last possible minute as opposed to the first possible sign of trouble, and that made it so he couldn't go and find those easy passes. He was committed to try to put a shot up, whatever it was. Got the ball swiped away a few times, got contested at the rim. And look, he still goes 9 of 14. Again, 22 points in 24 minutes. But it was clearly the most uncomfortable he's been all season long. And so, you are, again, the math of this is their offense is working. They have the 7th best half-court offense in the NBA, 7th best offense overall per cleaning the glass. There's no need to be just constantly aggressive trying to force turnovers at every opportunity. You can be more opportunistic about it and trust that your transition game running off of misses and then your half-court offense are going to be enough to buoy a pretty good offense. And so far, again, very good offense so far. And their defense is up to 17th after some strong performances, as I mentioned earlier. They are currently as well, like, again, everything on offense is working in concert. The half-court offense is 7th best. Transition-wise, they're running the second most times of any team in the league. 19.1% of their possessions are coming in transition. So that's just like padding their stats as well, even though they haven't been crazy efficient by league standards in transition. 123.3 points per 100 in the run. That's a huge deal. That is turning a fifth of their possessions into wind sprints that are really easy buckets and just like way higher than your half-court offense is going to produce, even if you're not the most efficient transition team. And so, like, that math is working for them. They, in the half court, like, everything is clicking right now, right? Like, the Bucks are not a slouch defensive team. They haven't been great this season, but they have Giannis. They have Ryan Rollins, who's kind of a nasty point of attack guy, or can be. Maybe got kind of roasted a little bit last night. Miles Turner, in theory, is a good defender, though I think we're seeing that the drop off from Brook Lopez at his peak to Miles Turner right now pretty significant for the sort of dauntingness of the interior of the Bucks defense. But like, the Raps put up 129.3 offensive rating in this game, a 94th percentile offensive game by any team this season, and 115.8 offensive rating in the half court, which is also 94th percentile of any half court performance across the league this year. And they did that all with Brandon Ingram kind of taking a secondary role in this one. Didn't have a huge sort of prolific night, just 13 points on 12 shot attempts. He was more like decoy advantage creator distributor in this one. And that's totally fine. Like, that to me is the sign that the offense was humming and working. Emmanuel quickly had probably his best creative game, just like plunging into the teeth of the defense, spraying out to shooters. And I think his pick and roll game with Jakob Poeltl back, which, by the way, love to see Jok back. Like, this was the most comfortable, quickly looked as a pick and roll creator all season too, right? And it wasn't just one speed. He was slowing it down, getting a guy on his hip, getting to the floater, probing and looking for those passes patiently, as opposed to just trying to thread the first thing in, as soon as it appeared, as soon as it revealed itself. Like, it was just like a really comprehensively excellent offensive game from the Raptors in this one. And it's built upon like a pretty good start to the year overall. And again, that offense humming like this allows them to dial back the aggression on defense. And it just like it gives them breathing room math wise. The other thing too is they're not turning the ball over nearly as much as they have in the first couple of years of the Darko Rajakovic era, where they pass a lot, they move the ball a lot, and they create a lot of turnovers themselves because they kind of get sloppy with it, or lesser players were playing in that sort of high octane system. Now they're playing the same offense essentially. Maybe it's a little bit less elaborate because they can just kind of throw it to Brandon Ingram sometimes to simplify matters, but they're 11th in turnover rate this year after being 25th last season. They're also 5th in turnovers forced. Like, that's good math. Like, that is just like when you're piecing together a score in a basketball game, it really is just a matter of all these sort of math angles coming together and working in your favor. And they very much did that last night. Just they only had 10 turnovers in this game. The half court offense was working beautifully. Scottie Barnes had 4 steals unto himself. They had 8 steals as a team. It's look, I don't know how long this is going to last. They're 7th in offense. Like, that's pretty high. That's higher than what I thought. I'm willing to accept that they might have a higher ceiling than I expected coming into the year offensively. I thought the best they would do was like 11th, something like that, fringe of the top 10. If everything hums like this, like, they certainly can be in the mix for a top 10 offense now. I don't think it's necessarily the most likely outcome here. Things will stabilize. They're not going to be likely the 7th best 3-point shooting team in the NBA by accuracy. Maybe they are. Like, they've got some good shooters out there, and they're taking good looks, and they're creating good looks with how their offense runs. So it could work that way. But yeah, like, I just don't see them like with how this team is working right now, with how the math is working. Even if some stuff stabilizes back to the mean, there's other stuff that's going to positively regress to the mean as well, right? Scottie Barnes might not shoot 50% from 3, but Emmanuel Quickly is also not going to shoot 30% from 3. That stuff's going to balance out a little bit. Jakob Poeltl being back, I think, is going to make it so they have a better chance on the offensive glass, where they haven't done much this year. They've been 22nd in offensive rebound rate. They've been 19th in opposing offensive rebound rate. Like, they've not been a good rebounding team at all this season. They were last night. Not surprising, Jakob Poeltl's back. You add a 7-footer to the mix, and all of a sudden you go from this kind of tiny team where Scottie Barnes is the biggest guy on the floor to, now Scottie Barnes and Jakob Poeltl and Brandon Ingram and Colin Murray-Boyles are all these sort of like big, long dudes for their position, and everything kind of settles into place, and they're a better rebounding team as a result. And I think the rebounding also will be helped by the defense being less out of position all the time, right? When you're in constant scrambling rotation, you're prone to giving up offensive rebounds, especially on long threes and stuff like that, because or long rebounds, that is, because you're out of position and you're not in a spot to box dudes out, and you're playing a more conservative style. You're in better position to close out possessions with defensive rebounds too. And so that's probably going to regress a little bit towards the mean in the positive direction. So if other things come down, like, it's all going to kind of come out in the wash. I just think the process right now is really good for how the Raptors are playing, and they have an idea of how they want to play. And maybe the idea has changed a little bit over the course of the first 8 games as they've taken new information in and realized, hey, maybe our offense has a shot here, so we can change the way we play defense. I think there will still be aggression baked into their DNA because, they have like really nasty point of attack defenders and guards and Jamal Shed and Jacoby Walter. And they're going to want Colin Murray-Boyles to be handsy, and they're going to want Scottie Barnes to create a ruckus and create events and all that stuff. Like, there will still be aggression to be had, but with the way they've adjusted how they're playing defense here, along with what they're doing offensively, along with the turnover, or the ball security they've had, and the way they force turnovers against the other team, like, it is, again, just like a pretty rosy math picture for what this team is doing that paints a rather sustainable image for what they're doing so far. Again, do I think they're going to be, I think I got it screwed up. They're 7th in offense, 16th in defense right now per clean the glass. Do I think they're going to be top 10 in offense all year? Probably not. Do I think the defense can be 16th? Yeah, I totally do. Do I think it can be better than 16th? Yeah, with Scottie Barnes playing this way, absolutely I do, especially if they're dialing back the aggression a little bit. And maybe the offense can just be a top 10 offense if they're padding it with all of this periphery stuff on top of the half-court offense. Even if the half-court offense falls from 7th to 15th, there's still enough going on the margins math-wise to make it so this can be a pretty damn good offensive team with how much they run and how well they take care of the ball compared to years past. They're not going to be, the prime Kyle DeMar Raptors in terms of never turning the ball over, that because they throw a lot of passes, that's going to lead to some turnovers here and there. But if they're just like not throwing away totally egregious turnovers, that really changes the math dynamic for this team. So yeah, I don't know, man. Feeling pretty good. That was a really fun game last night, a really convincing victory, and kind of doubled down on a lot of the stuff that's been going well for this team of late. As they've got now 3 wins in a row, and they go on a trip against some very not good Eastern Conference teams coming up. I'm excited to see it. We're going to come back on the other side, finished up with the good, the bad, and the as we usually do, on the heels of a Raptors basketball game. Stuff I liked, stuff I didn't like, stuff that's got me a little intrigued. We'll do that in just one sec. Today's show is brought to you by a new sponsor. It's Gusto. Let's be real. No one starts a business for the joy of calculating tax withholdings or managing payroll spreadsheets. That's where Gusto comes in to take the stress out of payroll, benefits, and HR so you can focus on running your business and supporting your team. Gusto is the all-in-one remote-friendly payroll and HR platform that makes managing your team simple, transparent, and fast. Whether you're hiring, onboarding, or paying employees, Gusto helps you do it all from one place without hassle or hidden fees. Unlimited payroll runs for one monthly price, which means no surprise charges at the end of the month. Gusto's automated tools like offer letters, onboarding materials, and direct deposits save you hours every week. And knowing you can reach certified HR experts anytime gives you real peace of mind. Try Gusto today at gusto.com/lockedinNBA and get 3 months free when you run your first payroll. That's right, 3 months of free payroll at gusto.com/lockedinNBA. One more time, that's gusto.com/lockedonNBA. Today's show is also brought to you by Doer, who make simply the world's most comfortable pants. And they do it without sacrificing style. I am very particular about the pants I wear, and I cannot wait to get my pair of Doer jeans that are coming in the mail very, very soon. Perhaps as early as today. Cannot wait because I'm like a sucker for a pair of jeans that I love. And when I fall for a pair of jeans, they are in my heart forever. And with Doer, just reading about the features that I have coming to me, I'm pretty thrilled. They have 5 times the stretch of traditional denim, but they also feel stretchy without looking stretchy. They keep their shape, which is a lovely thing. They're antibacterial, meaning your jeans stay fresh longer so you can wear them more and wash them less. And they're made with Cool Max that regulates your body temperature and wicks moisture. A big deal for me, a guy who runs hot all the time. Simply put, Doer makes the world's most comfortable pants without having to sacrifice style. And you can check out Doer here in Toronto at their new store at 44 Ossington Avenue. Pick up a pair for yourself or as an amazing holiday gift. Mention the promo code LOCKEDONToronto in store and get 15% off your first order, or check them out at DUER.ca/LockedOnToronto for 15% off. That's DUER.ca/LockedOnToronto. Go check them out. Wrapping things up here with the good, the bad, and the the way we rounded every single episode of this here podcast on the heels of a Toronto Raptors basketball game. A thing I liked, a thing I didn't like, and this got me a little bit intrigued from the latest in Raptors hoops. And the good for me in this one is a single possession. You know of what I speak if you watch this game. Probably it was in the third quarter. Just some beautiful basketball being played by a team of dudes sharing the rock. If Lee Ellis were still doing the starters or no dunks, I guess now, this would be a very solid play contender for those who are familiar with the early days of the Basketball Jones and the starters and all of our friends Skeets and Tass and Trey and, of course, Lee Ellis. Sequence starts with Grady pumping and driving on the left wing. He kicks over to Mamu on the other wing. He pumps and passes to Ingram in the corner, who drives, draws a couple bodies, kicks it back out to Grady, who pumps and drives again, kicks to the corner for Scottie Barnes on the far left side. He swings it up to Shed on the wing. Jamal Shed up to Mamu at the top of the arc. Mamu cashes the 3. Just gorgeous hoops. You love to see it. Mamu was really damn good in this game. 15 points, 3 of 5 from downtown. What a fun find he has been. Nice revenge game for him against his old team in the Bucks. That possession is the good. It was beautiful to see. And the Raptors, again, kind of speaks to the way this offense is working right now. They have figured things out. They continue to figure things out. And 6th or 7th in the NBA in offense through 8 games is nothing to sneeze at. Bonus good, by the way. Sandy Brondello announced as the Toronto Tempo's head coach officially. Very exciting at the game. Getting the TV sideline interview with Kayla Gray, talking about how stoked she is to build something from scratch. Awesome stuff. Can't wait for the Tempo. Got my season tickets already, baby. I'm very pumped. And Sandy Brondello, pretty awesome hire. Very recent WNBA champion. Can't wait to see what she's able to do with the Tempo. The bad. I miss Jakob Poeltl's floater. His shot chart this year is hilarious, by the way. 81% at the rim, 17 to 21. Doing great inside 4 feet per clean the glass. 0 for 7 on short mid-rangers. He just cannot get the floater to fall after it seemed like every single one he took last year fell. it will sort itself out, one would assume. That's just like a feel shot, a touch shot that he hasn't had a lot of rhythm to get the feel for just yet. But once he does, I mean, that's going to make IQ's job that much easier as a pick and roll creator. It's going to make them that much more potent on offense. If you have Jakob Poeltl as sort of the final outlet for plays around the basket, finishing off those possessions with the little floater shot, ultimately just glad to see him back on the floor, moving like a normal, healthy guy without chronic back pain. He mentioned after the game it was a little tight on him a couple spots, only played 20 minutes, but he looked like himself, had some bounce, threw out a fun lefty dunk. That was great to see. Encouraging signs from Jakob Poeltl, who is a good basketball player when he's not dealing with 30-year-old back troubles. And the for me, Ochai Agbaji, more like no Chai Agbaji. Yeah, really good. Didn't play in this game until garbage time. It was all Grady Dick and Jakob Poeltl getting the looks in that sort of bench two-guard vortex, which we've talked about plenty, has not produced a whole lot of good so far this season. And look, I mean, if you're a Raptors fan, this is probably how you want things to play out. As much as it's fun to root for Ochai Agbaji, he's a good dude. Last season he was like a really sort of under-heralded, reliable, steady presence for that team all year long. You want Grady to run with the minutes he's getting, and you want him to affect good offense. You want Jakob Poeltl to have some nice flourishes, and he did last night. 8 points in 11 minutes, hit a three, had an and one. Good stuff. It's a shame that Ochai hasn't been able to find it yet. And look, it's a big year for him, not just for his career with the Raptors, but like in the NBA, right? Like he'll probably stick around because wings who in theory shoot are always going to be at least some form of attractive. But if Grady and Walter run with that spot, it does clarify things a bit easier. The Raptors have a tax decision to make coming into the deadline. And the easiest thing to do is flip Ochai for a slightly cheaper guy to duck the tax. And that just might be the way things are headed based on what we've seen so far this year. Ochai just can't quite figure it out. And look, we could come back on Friday and Grady Dick could play 8 minutes and have 2 points, and Jakob Poeltl could be 0 for 5, and we're right back to square one. And maybe Ochai's got another shot to get back into the good graces here. But I think what's most likely is that Grady and Jakobi will begin to run with this a little bit more. Grady 14 points last night, kind of a quiet 14 points too. Didn't realize until I looked at the score at the box score this morning just how effective he was. 3 of 4 from downtown. A nice, tidy overall game. He got to the line 6 times in this one as well. Was a plus 15. Good stuff from Grady Dick off the bench. And I'm really liking these like in between lineups, man, where you have Shed just kind of guiding the ship and Mamu and Grady Dick providing spacing. They had a section in this game where, again, the Bucks were zoning up, and it was like Scottie Barnes plus all the shooting in the world to try to, beat the zone. And they eventually forced Doc Rivers to go away from it. Just like a lot of different ways they can play, a lot of different styles of lineups they can throw out there. It's a good thing to have, especially in the regular season when sort of just having different looks is kind of the name of the game if you're hoping to be successful. Again, it's a shame for Ochai Agbaji, and you hope that, if he doesn't land on his feet with the team this season, that he finds himself a job somewhere else. But right now, he does not seem to be at the top of the priority list for minutes for guys off the bench. And again, if you're a Raptors fan, this is probably how you want things to go. This is the simplest thing. The 2 guys you have on rookie deals, who you drafted, who you're developing, if they can take the job in years 2 and 3, respectively, that is a huge deal and just makes the whole picture of this team a lot easier to envision going forward with those guys as helpful bench contributors who can play one at a time or with each other in all kinds of different iterations, because both in theory can shoot and having shooting, as we're seeing right now with the Raptors, the 7th best 3-point shooting team in the league. Pretty big deal. We're going to leave it there. Thank you so much for rocking with the show. As always, we'll be back again on Thursday. Katie Heindel will be along for her usual Thursday spot. What we'll talk about yet? Who's to say? It's an off day. It's a world of possibilities. We've also got coming up Friday, Oren Weisfeld, the author of The Golden Generation, a book about the rise of Canada basketball over the last 25 years. Really excited to have Oren on to talk about the book. We'll plug it a little bit, talk about Raptors stuff, Canada basketball stuff. Can't wait to have our pal Oren on. That'll be a later episode drop on Friday, by the way. We're recording that in the afternoon, so probably around sort of the evening commute will you get your Friday episode before the Raptors take on the Hawks. Just a programming note there, but looking forward to it, man. And thank you for rocking with the show and supporting, and going to the YouTube channel and subscribing if you haven't yet. Going to the apps, telling a friend. Word of mouth, still a big deal with podcasts. So if you are, if you have like friends who are sad Blue Jays fans who are looking for a sports outlet and, hey, are looking for the Raptors to maybe sort of be the thing that guides them through the sad, dreary winter as the Toronto Maple Leafs look like butt, send them this way. I will happily accept them and, talk ball to them all season long. They can join the Discord as well as you can. Link in the description of the podcast. 100% free to join. Love to see you there. Thanks so much for hanging. Talk to you Thursday. Bye-bye. Ooh.